Hey guys, so somebody asked me in the comments, what do you do if you just feel like you deserve the lot in life that you have, the unhappy place that you are right now? What do you do if you just really feel like you deserve it? It's unhappy and you don't deserve any better. So that's kind of a big question, and I think there are two parts to it. And I'm going to start with, I think, the easier one. If you feel that way because of things that you've done in your past, if you feel, if you had a period of your life where you, from a less developed state, if you've changed into a person that doesn't do the things you've done in the past that are shameful, that maybe you feel like now you need to pay for. If you've changed, that was the payment. You changing, you becoming aware of a way that you are that is harming other people, or that caused you to not be successful in some way, or causing you to feel like you're behind your peers, or whatever it is. There are so many ways that this can come out where people feel like I've destroyed my life by this period of time, or this thing I didn't do right in the past. Comes out in so many ways. If you've now essentially woken up, seen the error of your ways, done all you can to make amends for that, and to be in a different place now, I can think of a few ways where it would be very hard to get over this, regardless. Like, for example, if you weren't a good parent to a child or something like that, I could see that being something that's very hard to get past. I think you have to decide that the best thing that you can do is to drop that. It's like people feel like there's some benefit to punishing themselves for things that they did in the past that maybe had a bad effect on other people. Like, as though punishing yourself and being unhappy somehow adds to the world or something like that. Like, it's somehow beneficial to those people who often are the very ones telling you to forgive yourself. I think you have to really just get it, that the best thing that you can do is to be happy, is to, get past it. That there's no value in this self-imposed punishment. First get rid of the idea that there is a value in that. That, I think, is probably the most major stumbling block. And I think for a lot of people, if you just get that, it can just change really fast. I mean, if every time you start to feel that thing where you're like, I don't deserve any better than this, and it's because I did this thing, if you could just, in that moment where that feeling starts to come up, you start, if at that point you can say to yourself, I have to stop doing this, because the best way for me to make up for that is by being the best I can be. And being the best I can be means being the happiest I can be and the most peaceful and blissful, and overcoming this is the best thing I could do. The best thing I could do is overcome this, and then I can tell others how to overcome this. I think the best thing you can do if you have a bad past is really pay it back, like from here on out. And the payback is not, I sit here and be miserable. That's where people get really caught up. But so, hand in hand with that is, you have to realize, and I should say, if you haven't made amends, if you haven't done all that stuff, if you haven't done the best you can to make up for it, do that. Do what you can. Do as much as you can. You can only do what you can do. But do that if you haven't done that, Tell the people that you hurt that, you were operating from a lower mentality, and that if you could have done better, you absolutely would have. And do what you have to do in that area. But I think it also really, you have to look at that as a different person in a way. You have to look at the version of yourself as a different person because it was a different person. Just because it was the same consciousness inhabiting both bodies doesn't mean it was the same level of consciousness. And just because it was this meat suit that was present during that time doesn't mean it's the same, essence mentally. You have changed, so it's not, it's not the same person. I think you need to look at that person. And, I made a video about this. I'll see if I can find it. But I remember saying this like 3 years ago. I made a video about this. If you imagine that you have a friend that is you with all of the exact same details. They did the same things. They've made the same strides. They're in the same place as you are right now. And this person is basically telling you your life story. And they're saying, you see how I've changed. I'm in my 20s. I can't believe the things I did. I can't believe the disregard I had for other people. I can't believe these choices that I made that have placed all these burdens on myself and other people. And I can't believe that I did those things. And now I'm conscious of it. I wouldn't make the same choices today, but I just can't let it go. What would you tell that person? Would you be like, yeah, that's good. You should suffer for this. You should definitely continue to be miserable and have a life that's well below your current potential. You should definitely keep thinking about those things and what a bad person you are. Of course not. You would never say that to somebody else. It's like we only say that to ourselves generally. You would tell that person what I just told you, basically. You would say, no, you gotta move forward. You gotta let it go. Look at the past version of yourself as that other person. Recognize that it's essentially somebody other than you, and give that past version of yourself the same compassion and understanding and forgiveness and good advice that you would give to somebody now. You know what I mean? You just separate it out. Stop when you think of it, when you recall these things. Don't only just tell yourself the best thing I can do is move forward. Start telling yourself, that's not me. That's not me. The person that did that, is not me, other than the fact that I still bear the responsibility for, acknowledging that I did those things if I need to. You can't say that wasn't me, but in your mind, you can think of it as not being you, because it's really, you've got to let yourself off the hook. Let that version off the hook. Let that version go. Like, stop giving it life, which I know can be hard to do if you're being faced presently with the results of something that you did. This can be really difficult. But again, the best thing that you can do is to be as happy as you can be. And when it comes down to whether or not you deserve it, like, what does that mean? You have to do certain things in order to be allowed to have certain experiences. That's just an idea. It's just an idea and nothing more. But so, I think what can go hand in hand with this is just kind of feeling like there's something wrong with you. You deserve where you are in life because of who you are. Just something about you. And I guess this is one of the places where you run into issues with language. Perhaps you do deserve where you are, in the sense that just totally unemotionally, just looking at it, as the way this works, perhaps you are away, your belief, a negative belief you have, or an unproductive belief that you have, is just logically creating an outcome. It's just functioning the way it's supposed to. And so essentially you do deserve what you have right now. So you believe, let's say, that relationships between men and women are always a certain way. Like, there are always certain qualities that go into those. And so you continually have relationships where that is the case, because in my opinion, this happens because you choose people with whom you can tell you're going to have a relationship like that. And people who you won't have a relationship like that are not attractive to you, or they just don't show up on the scene. So in that way, like if you have a belief, you kind of do deserve how it's playing out. But I don't think that's what people mean when they say they feel like they deserve their lot in life. But it is useful to understand that it works that way, that if you have a belief, it will, manifest in your reality in some way that you can't necessarily, it's not always like a parallel. Like, I think I'm ugly, so therefore everyone else thinks I'm ugly. I mean, we know plenty of people, beautiful people, who have low self-esteem and there was a video on YouTube that I watched about a model talking about all the ways she would nitpick her appearance, and that doesn't come out necessarily. It's not necessarily always a direct parallel. Oh, I nitpick my appearance, and so others do the same, or others think I'm ugly, or something like that. It's not always like that simple. Your belief that you're ugly or not good enough or something will show up in you choosing things that are beneath you, essentially, or choosing things that will reinforce that for you. It doesn't necessarily mean I think this, so others will think this. Just doesn't mean that, no matter how many times people say it. So, if you feel like you deserve your lot in life because, let's say, you have a personality trait that is, that would be pretty roundly considered bad or offensive or wrong or something like that. And so you feel like, well, I can't stop acting this way in this situation, or I can't stop, treating people this certain way, or I can't stop being depressed and not doing anything with my life and being a burden on others or whatever. And therefore I deserve this shitty life that I have, or whatever. The thing there, I think the thing to understand there, the sort of step one understanding there, is that it's all coming from beliefs. It's all changeable. It's all changeable. The process of getting from A to B, for changing it, isn't necessarily going to happen overnight. It's not necessarily going to be easy to come by. The process of changing something major about yourself, when you intend to have that, and then you go through the creative process of having that experience, I can tell you firsthand, it's not always a pleasant experience. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes it appears to get worse before it gets better. Sometimes the last thing you want to have happen happens. I can tell you this from firsthand experience. But it's all changeable. If you feel like you are getting the natural outcome of your own personality flaws, and thus you deserve what you have, you deserve where you are, you're not exactly wrong. But that doesn't mean that there's some inherent flaw with you that then means that has to perpetuate. It doesn't mean that you deserve this and therefore there you stay. All that really means is, you have to start to change. You have to start to change your beliefs and do the work. The work is mental, and you have to start to change that stuff so that you no longer feel that way. And when it comes down to, what certain people, I think certain people are doing the best that they can. Certain people have made the best that they can of everything, and they still feel like, they're still operating from this idea of the flawed self, that I suffered from this until I was 40, literally, without really even giving a shit about it. I don't know. I didn't associate this with all the things that weren't working for me in my life. And they were the cause of all of it. It was the cause of all of them. Just kind of feeling like you came out imperfect. And that, there are others that are not that way. And you came out just not quite right. You came out with some flaw that just sort of, like Willy Wonka, you know, when the golden eggs are coming out and they fall into the, you know, the onto the scale, and it says whether it's a good egg or a bad egg. You know, you just came out one of the bad eggs. It's rotten, that gets thrown into the furnace, and the furnace is essentially where you are. You just came out a rotten egg. You weren't one of the good ones, and it's really sad. And you know, it sucks that it sucks for you that that's the way it is. But you're a good person. You know, you're a bad egg, but you know you're good. You've decided to be good, and so you've done what you can to be good. But yet you're still not quite deserving of that happiness and the good feelings and the peace and the outer world that matches up with a good egg. You just kind of believe that somewhere in there. I definitely believed that as though it were fact. It was one of the most shocking things in my life when I realized that wasn't true. One of the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was when I was suddenly disabused of that notion, because carrying that around with you, it mars even your happiest moments in life. It really does. And you don't even know it. You don't even know it until you experience life from the other side. It's like being reborn, essentially. If that's where you're coming from, I can tell you this, it's not true. This is one of the realizations, I think, that come with sort of having a moment of like true connection and understanding that you are one with the divine. I just can't tell you how much I'm not somebody who speaks like that or spoke like that in the past. There's just, you know, you are perfection. Your core is perfect, and you came out perfect. Anything about you that is a human flaw or anything like that does not contradict that. And you didn't come out rotten. You can intend to have that understanding. You could make that your intention, that you can make that your vision. You know, the Wallace Wattles manifestation process that I just laid out in this this video series that I did about the science of getting rich. You know, it's very simple. You have to know what you want first and foremost. Know what you want as specifically as you can without adding on a bunch of stuff. If you realize that you just kind of feel like you came out the rotten egg, and you want deeply and seriously, strongly to understand that that is not true. That's your intention. You intend for that truly, and just know it will happen. You have to just get out of your own way. Just know it will happen and have faith in this process. You will have the experiences that lead you to that understanding. That is how this works. And so that would be my advice. If the whole rest of this just kind of didn't lead you anywhere, if you don't really feel like there's some major personality flaw that you have, if you don't feel like you have some major shameful experiences that you can't forgive yourself for, if you just kind of feel like you don't deserve more because you're just not one of the people that deserves more, that would be my advice, is to intend to understand that that is not the case. Because that core thing, I mean, that is the most life-changing thing in the world that you could possibly experience, is understanding that, no, you're not the rotten egg, you're the good egg. That will change everything in your life. So I'm going to find the other video that I made and link to it. I'm trying to think if I left anything out of there. I'm pretty sure those are the three main causes, you know. Truly forgiving yourself for your past deeds, despite the effects that you might be suffering through right now, or others might be suffering through. Truly forgiving that. Truly understanding that anything about yourself that is producing an undesired, unpleasant outer 3D experience is something that can be understood and changed. It's something that is coming from a belief, not from a core rottenness about you. Understanding that. Or just, intending to understand that you are, in fact, perfect. Those are the three things, I think, that cause the world to change for the better. That cause you to get out of that spot where you are just in purgatory, in a self-imposed prison, for which you have the key. If you could just get a hold of it and use it. It's there. I hope that covered it. I hope that helped somebody. Have a great day.